This is our final unit in Anatomy and Physiology 12. Congratulations, you have made it to the end. We are talking about the reproductive system, both the anatomy of the male and female body, as well as the hormones that are involved in human reproduction. First of all, we'll talk a little bit about sex, and sex is a biological classification for an individual based on their chromosomes and the primary sex characteristics that they code for. Primary sex characteristics are characteristics that an individual is born with. Secondary sex characteristics are the things that show up due to hormonal control, usually around puberty. For males, we'll use the chromosome code XY, and for females, XX. In humans, reproduction occurs sexually via internal fertilization. Individuals have gonads, which are organs involved in producing gametes, the eggs and sperm, as our primary sex organs. In the male, the gonads are testes, which produce sperm, and in the female, the gonads are ovaries, which produce the eggs. Sexual reproduction is essential in maintaining genetic variation within a species. Now, sex is not always as straightforward as XX or XY, and sometimes there are a number of conditions that can lead to an individual being diagnosed as intersex. This can occur where the chromosomes don't arrange themselves in a way that we would consider typical. So XX or XY is the typical state, but about 1 in 1,600 individuals will not have a typical XX or XY chromosome pairing, and they are usually referred to as intersex. There are a number of different conditions that are intersex, having to do with differences in chromosome orientation. So Turner syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, ovi-testes or androgen insensitivity, and gonadal dysgenesis are all some examples of intersex conditions. If you're interested, there's a great article and this chart in much greater detail at the link here. So worth checking out if you're interested in issues of sex determination. The learning goals for the male reproductive system are to be able to identify and explain the functions of the male reproductive structures: penis, testes, epididymis, semen, seminal fluid, sperm, prostate gland, Cowper's gland, the scrotum, urethra, vas deferens, and seminal vesicles. With those structures, you should be able to describe the production and pathway of sperm as it is made and travels out of the body, and the role of hormones in male sexual reproduction. So first of all, in your notes, you've got this diagram here, and it is unlabeled. There's a little video that's going to show next, and see if as the video goes on, you can label as many parts of the male anatomy as you can.
The male genital system begins with the 2 testes, where sperm are produced. The epididymis is a system of convoluted small tubes leading from each testis and emptying into the vas deferens. After being joined by the duct of the seminal vesicles, the vas becomes the ejaculatory duct, which enters the prostate, where it joins with the urethra to convey the sperm, contained in semen, to the penis.
Now, as we go through the anatomy, go back to that diagram and label it in detail as you learn more structures. First up is the penis. This is an obvious part of male anatomy, and it is the organ for sexual intercourse. Penis contains a shaft, which has spongy erectile tissue, head or glans, penis covered by a foreskin, and it is what is used to deliver the gametes into the female's body. So here in cross-section, you can see this spongy tissue here. There are 3 different channels that contain that spongy tissue. And when a penis becomes erect, that spongy tissue becomes engorged with blood and is what gives the penis its rigid, erect state. The other external anatomy on a male are the scrotum. Now, the scrotum is the fold of tissue that houses the testes. So the testes are the testicles inside the scrotal sac. They initially develop inside the abdomen and somewhere between 7 and 9 months of gestation, and in a few infants slightly after birth, those testes descend out of the abdomen and into the scrotum. The benefit of having the testes outside the body is that sperm production is enhanced at cooler temperatures. And so by having the testes away from the heat of the body, the sperm is able to be produced in a lower temperature environment, which makes it more viable. Now, the internal anatomy of the male, looking now at the testes themselves, these are the male gonads, the gamete-producing organs. So this is the testicle structure. It's made out of seminiferous tubules, which are housed in the testicle, the hard part that you can feel in the scrotum. And that is the site of sperm production. And then wrapping around the outside of the testes tubules themselves is the epididymis. And so after sperm have been produced, they move through all these tubules into the epididymis for maturation and storage. And then when they are ready to exit the body through ejaculation, they travel out of the epididymis up through the spermatic cord and then travel through the body and out the penis. Now, vas deferens, that vas term is what we use in the word vasectomy. When a male has a vasectomy, that tube here, the vas deferens, is what is cut and sealed to prevent sperm from traveling from the testes out of the body. That would render a male infertile or unable to impregnate a female. So you can see here, these are paired organs, so both vas deferens have been cut and sealed off as a means of permanent contraception. Once the sperm have exited the testes, they travel along the vas deferens, which wraps up through the abdomen, behind the bladder, through the prostate gland, and then out the penis. As it travels towards ejaculation, the sperm pick up secretions from glands to produce semen. So semen is the secretions or seminal fluids plus the sperm themselves. The first glands are the seminal vesicles. The job of the seminal vesicles are to add nutrients, primarily sugar, and fluids into the semen. So those sperm rely on ATP produced by mitochondria, and so having a source of sugar is important for them to continue on their journey. So as sperm travels up here in loops, here we have in the seminal vesicle picking up sugar and fluids. Next up, the vas deferens passes into the prostate gland, and at the prostate gland, the semen is going to pick up bicarbonate ions to maintain a basic pH of the semen. And the reason for the basic pH there is that it actually counteracts the acidic nature of the vagina and helps to ensure survival of those sperm. So there's the prostate gland. And then finally, the semen is going to pick up some more secretions at the Cowper's gland, or sometimes called the bulbourethral glands. And those glands are going to add a milky, viscous fluid that acts as a lubricant to make penetration easier. Once all of those fluids and sperm are mixed together as semen, they then exit via the urethra. And remember from our studies in the urinary system that the urethra is a shared vessel. So here we have this is called the ejaculatory duct as it passes into the prostate gland, and it joins up with the urethra, and then this remaining pathway is out through the urethra. Process of spermatogenesis describes sperm production. We can see that within the seminiferous tubules, there are a number of different types of cells that all assist in the production of sperm through this process of mitosis and then meiosis. A primary spermatocyte, one of the cells that is about to undergo division to produce sperm, undergoes 2 rounds of meiotic division, which is a reduction in chromosome number, to produce from that one cell 4 sperm, each containing half the number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Now, the sperm itself is the smallest human cell. The head of the sperm contains a haploid nucleus, so that's where we've got those half the set of chromosomes, and it is covered by an enzyme-filled cap called the acrosome. So here's that acrosome that sits on top, and the job of those enzymes is to actually digest or dissolve the wall of the egg to allow the sperm to penetrate. The mid piece of the sperm is where we find lots of mitochondria. The mitochondria are there to provide energy in the form of ATP to allow the tail to move and push the sperm up into the female's body for fertilization of the egg. And then, of course, ends in the tail.